I welcome you all to the fourth segment of lecture 52, and in this video we'll be looking at how did the tribunals look at FET clause in NAFTA post the FTC's interpretation of Article 1105. And for that, we will first look at waste management versus Mexico. As you know, 7th October 2003 itself, FTC had issued the interpretation in waste management when the award was passed in 2004. It still gave a very broader interpretation to the FET clause. Specifically, we look at Waste Management Tribunal looked at ST Myers case, Mondev case, ADF, Leuven cases, and it stated that the minimum standard of treatment of fair and equitable treatment will be infringed if the country acts in a certain way that is harmful to the investor, and that sort of an action by the country should be arbitrary, grossly unfair, or it should be unjust or idiosyncratic or discriminatory, and if any action by a state exposes the investor to sectional or racial prejudice, then that is also violation of FET clause. If at all the state's conduct lacks due process, because it lacks a due process, if it leads to an outcome that also offends judicial propriety, then all of these would be a case for manifest failure of natural justice in judicial proceedings or a complete lack of transparency and candor in an administrative process. So this is what it stated that would violate fair and equitable treatment. And at the same point of time, we could see that Waste Management Tribunal stated that if there are any representation made by the host state and the host state goes back on those statements which was actually relied on by the claimant, then in that case also there is a violation of fair and equitable treatment. Similarly, this is what Waste Management Tribunal had laid down with regard to the standard of FET clause. So this was built upon by GAMI Tribunal, and again in case of GAMI versus Mexico, the tribunal built on what was already stated in waste management, and GAMI Tribunal stated few things that had to be looked at by the tribunal while deciding the scope of FET clause, and that they are if there is a failure to fulfill the objectives of administrative regulation, that should be taken into account. But just because there is a failure without anything more, then that will not necessarily rise to a breach of international law. Similarly, GAMI Tribunal also stated that if there is a failure to satisfy any requirements of a national law, then that will not necessarily violate international law as well. Then the GAMI Tribunal also stated that with regard to the proof of good faith effort by the government to achieve an objective of its own laws and regulation, that may counterbalance instances of disregard of legal or regulatory requirements. And the GAMI Tribunal finally stated that the record as a whole, not as isolated events, will determine if there has been a breach of international law. So what we see here is GAMI Tribunal had sort of took a nuanced approach with regard to how to determine whether there has been a breach of fair and equitable treatment clause or not. And if we look at cases like Pope and Talbot versus Canada, in that case also Canada argued that FET clause is limited to customary international laws minimum standard of treatment, but Pope and Talbot Tribunal rejected this contention of Canada and stated that the rights of investors is evolving. Therefore, it cannot adopt a narrower view of an FET clause, then otherwise this will give more protection to the domestic investors. Basically, Pope and Talbot Tribunal stated that if such a contention is accepted, then that will mean that the foreigners will be treated way worse than the domestic investors, and Pope and Tribunal included fairness to be one of the tenet of FET clause and gave a very broad interpretation to FET clause. Then if we look at Mondev Tribunal, what Monday Tribunal stated when it comes to interpretation of FET clause is that Monday Tribunal stated that FET clause cannot be limited to a standard that we find in 1920s, and it stated that it rejected the contention saying that we cannot associate state's conduct, we cannot determine there is a violation of FET clause only when state conduct is outrageous or egregious. So that cannot happen. So Mondev Tribunal also gave a broader interpretation to the FET clause. While talking about FET clause, Mondev Tribunal also stated that now there is a practice of signing many BITs, and most of the BITs include a provision on FET. So that itself has influenced the jurisprudence of FET. The very fact that many BITs are signed with a broad FET clause, that itself has influenced the way in which FET clause had to be interpreted. This is what Mondev Tribunal had stated. Then we see Chemutra versus Canada. In Chemutra versus Canada, the investor took a very interesting approach. So this case was again decided after the interpretation by FTC. So what the investor did in this case was, the investor basically, since the case involved, we have already discussed Chemutra versus Canada in detail in the 7th week of the course. So I hope you remember the facts of the case. So basically, the investor questioned the prohibition on lindane, so based the scientific evidence and all of that. So the investor wanted certain factors to be a tenet of FET clause, that is right to be heard, lack of reason, arbitrary conduct, and that won't come under the narrow scope post the FTC's interpretation. So the investor, what Chemutra did in this case was invoked Article 1103 of NAFTA, which is the most favored nation clause, and borrowed a favorable FET provision from the treaties that Canada had signed. So it stated that, okay, so FTC's interpretation had narrowed the scope of FET clause in NAFTA. So they invoked MFN treatment to borrow a favorable FET provision from some other treaty, and it wanted the tribunal to give a broader interpretation to FET clause. Chemutra Tribunal also agreed with Chemutra in that regard. Chemutra Tribunal stated that FET clause is also evolutionary in nature. It cannot be tied to old school minimum standard of treatment. So it also stated that it is evolutionary in nature. So what we see here is some tribunal giving a broad interpretation to the FET clause, even with the FTC's interpretation of Article 1105. But there are some cases which adopted a narrower interpretation also. For instance, look at international Thunderbird gaming case. So here what had happened was, the tribunal stated that for FET clause to be invoked, for it to be violated, then the conduct of the state has to be really bad in the sense it has to be grossly, the gross and extreme arbitrariness had to be shown in that particular case. Only then it will be considered to be a violation of FET clause, right. So that is their extreme arbitrariness and gross conduct of the state, that has to be shown. So that is what this tribunal stated that. If we also look at Glamis Gold case, there also the tribunal stated that merely disagreeing with the governmental decision will not result in violation of FET clause. For that to happen, the state's conduct had to be something serious. What do we mean by serious? There has to be gross unfairness, complete lack of due process, or the action of the state fell way below the international standards. Only then it would be held to be violation of FET clause. So in our discussion, what did we say? I mean, we discussed a few cases. So we can safely say that even with the interpretation given by Free Trade Commission of NAFTA, still there is a divergent approach when it comes to deciding the scope of FET clause. And I specifically wanted to point out to the approach of Chemutra and Chemutra versus Canada, wherein the investor invoked the MFN clause to borrow a broader FET clause from other treaties as well. So still, even with that FTC's interpretation, what we feel is that the question as to the exact scope of FAT clause, it's still not clarified. At least I would say that it is still not clarified. So this, at least this is in the context of NAFTA. Let us look at some cases outside NAFTA, and we'll see at least if the FAT, the scope of FAT is clear in cases outside NAFTA, the cases that are decided based on individual bilateral investment treaties. We'll see if the question is addressed. So that we'll discuss in the next video in detail. I'll see you then. Thank you.